Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. I've really been so excited to share my birth story with you all, but as you can imagine, life with 2 under 2 is not for the weak. And we're on week 2 tomorrow of this little guy. I don't know if you can see, but in this video I want to share my birth story with you. Without further ado, let's get started. If you're new here, my name is Talita. My first pregnancy, my water broke naturally. I pushed for 3.5 hours and then I had an emergency C-section. Basically, I was told a bunch of reasons as to why I wasn't able to push, but ultimately my son's head kept coming in and out, and he had an umbilical cord around his neck. So multiple things were happening that were not allowing that to happen. I also feel like, especially now with the second pregnancy, that I wasn't pushing properly, but I was told I was, so who knows. But this second pregnancy, I really wanted to have a VBAC. And that was my goal, but ultimately, as long as this little guy was healthy and I was healthy, at the end of the day, that is what matters. So I was trying to be open-minded, but yeah, that was the goal. So we ended up having to do at the end of this pregnancy is decide on whether we wanted to schedule an induction date or not, because we live in Dallas and we're from Boston originally. We don't have family here, and we have some friends, but we didn't really want to bother them. And especially, you know, let's say if my water broke at some random time at night, you know, we can't really depend on someone to be awake at all hours of the day for us. So we really knew that we had to plan around when both our moms would be here. So my induction date was about 39 weeks and 4 days, very close to 40 weeks. My first son was born at 39 weeks exact, like to the T. So I was hoping that the same would happen. I was hoping my water would break. About 5 days before my induction date was booked, I had an OB appointment, and I was really hopeful that I would be dilated. I chose to check my cervix only once at 38 weeks. So I think it was 38 weeks and 4 days or 5 days at that point. That was the first time I checked, my OB checked my cervix, and I thought for sure I was going to be dilated because I was, again, with my first, I was not dilated at all. So this was 4 days before my induction date, not dilated at all. I was really disappointed, and I didn't know what was going to happen. I know that sometimes being dilated or not being dilated has nothing to do with you going into labor like the following day even. Like it's irrelevant sometimes. So I was trying to remain positive. But once I found out that I wasn't dilated, I looked into exercises to induce labor. And that is when I started doing them. So Thursday, I went to my OB. I found out I wasn't dilated at all. Friday, I started doing exercises to induce labor. So I will link below the article that I referred to for exercises, but I did lunges, I did the butterfly exercise, which is a very easy one. You just sit and spread your legs like a butterfly and move around. They're all fairly easy to do, and you don't need to do them for long periods of time. But I did those, and then I did them Friday and Saturday. So just for 2 days I did them. I also went for a very long walk with my dog by myself, and I tried to relax as much as possible because I think prior to my mother-in-law, arriving to help us, I was just running around like crazy, like nesting like crazy, trying to get the house ready, trying to spend as much time with Kaden as possible before the new baby got here. So I tried to just kind of relax, and while she was here, I took advantage of that to go on a really long walk, because I know that helps to induce labor as well. So we did that, and Saturday night, it was around 12:53 a.m. my water broke. So 2 days later, after doing these exercises to induce labor and going for a long walk, not being induced at all, not being dilated, finding out I wasn't dilated at all, my water broke. And I wasn't sure this time around, because with my first, when my water broke, it was like the movies. It was like a big gush of water. So I knew without a doubt that my water had broken. This time it was like, maybe I just couldn't hold to get to the toilet fast enough, which, I mean, it would make sense because I was very pregnant. So I wasn't entirely sure. I think it was like 12:53. I looked at my phone, and I just wanted to make sure I timed, like, if I was going to have any contractions. And surely enough, I started getting contractions, and you can't mistake real contractions to Braxton Hicks, because real contractions are actually painful. Braxton Hicks are like your stomach tightens up and then loosens up again. So it's really not that uncomfortable. It's not gonna keep you up at night. Like a contraction, a real contraction, will keep you up at night. So I knew, because I was feeling a lot of lower back pain, my legs were hurting, I was feeling cramps, like menstrual cramps, but like 100 times more painful. And I started timing my contractions before I would wake my husband up and let him know that shit's going down. So I timed it. My first time, it like took 10 minutes for my contraction to come back again. But when it came back, I needed to go to the bathroom again, and it's like my water continued or finished breaking in a way, even though it never stops. But it was like a sign that, okay, yeah, now I know my water really broke. My water definitely broke. When that happened again, in that second contraction, my contractions were so strong, and they were a minute apart immediately. Like every minute I would have a contraction. A minute in, like I would have a contraction for a minute, then I would have a break for a minute, contraction for a minute, break for a minute. It was so painful, you guys. I mean, just for reference, with my first, my water broke, and I was still not feeling that much pain, to the point where I showered, I got my makeup done before I went to the hospital. I took my time getting there. This time I had no time to do anything. I literally went to the hospital with just the shirt I had on. I had to just put on like a nice comfortable pair of pants. I woke my husband up immediately and I said, we need to go to the hospital. My water just broke. I'm having really painful contractions. And he's like, are you sure? I'm like 100% positive. At this point, it was like 1-ish in the morning. Of course, his mom had just gotten to Dallas the night before, you guys. So she literally just made it here. Thank God. So we were very lucky on that too. But we hadn't even prepared her for our son. You know, we hadn't talked about what his day would look like without us, like, you know, what the routine is, what to do, nothing. So we had to wake her up, and my husband kind of went over like what to do the next day with him. So it was all very fast, and I had no time to think. I had no time to pack last minute things that I thought I would be able to such as my speaker, because the first time I wanted music in the background, my oil diffuser, had no time to pack that. Literally, we just kind of went out the door as fast as possible. I was under a lot of pain. So, you know, as if you're curious, I mean, you will know, but literally if someone's talking to you while you have a contraction, you can't respond. That is how you know it's real. I was literally like this on the door, like, you know, just trying to get through each contraction and trying to get to the car. That is how painful it was. So not just care, you guys, obviously you can get through it. You know, you gotta breathe through it, you gotta relax. Definitely have your husband or partner massage your lower back. That definitely helps for sure. But yeah, that is like how you can differentiate Braxton Hicks with a real contraction. And yeah, so that is what happened. I think one thing I was kind of unsure of is, you know, if I was going to be able to say bye to Caden before getting to the hospital. And I think I did get that, because that night before Caden went to bed, he had like a weird, like, he was just unsettled. And he was sitting up in his crib a lot and talking to himself. And normally I kind of let him have this quiet time before he falls asleep. But something told me to go in there and just, you know, hold him and help soothe him a little bit before he goes down to sleep. So that night I had that alone time with him. I'm trying not to cry right now. Yeah, I just picked him up and held him in my arms, and he hugged me so tight, and we just sat there on the rocking chair for as long as, God knows how long. Honestly, I don't know how long I sat there with him, but I just remember thinking this could be the last time that it's just the two of us. And it was. So that was my little sweet, you know, goodbye to him before I went to the hospital without knowing. But I feel like you just have to follow your intuition sometimes when it comes to these things. So yeah, we drove to the hospital, and of course it started pouring out. It was saying it was going to rain all week here in Dallas, and it kept not happening. You know, when the weather is just like not accurate, you know, so we kept looking, and it said, yeah, it's gonna rain tomorrow, and then it would be sunshine all day, or cloudy but no rain. And it was funny because my husband kept saying, like, you know, these people don't know what they're talking about. And then of course 1 o'clock in the morning, as we're heading to the hospital, boom, it starts pouring like crazy. And of course, my car was low in gas as per usual, classic Toledo move. So my husband had to stop at a gas station to get gas. Meanwhile, I'm over here like dying in pain. But I couldn't say anything because, I mean, we needed to get to the hospital, so we needed to get gas. But we made it, I think we made it there. It was like 1:30, 2 o'clock in the morning. And I just remember like freaking out at the receptionist because she was taking so long, and I'm like the only person in the waiting room, and no one seemed to be coming out anytime soon. She could see that I'm in so much pain, and I just remember telling my husband, can you please ask how long this is gonna take, because, you know, I'm clearly about to give birth right now. And then shortly enough, the nurse came out to help. So immediately the nurse asks what kind of birth I'm looking to have. And I told her that I am aiming to have a VBAC, and I did have a C-section with my first. And she literally just said, "You are brave," which, you know, they should be more encouraging than that, in my opinion, but that is what she said to me. And I was like, yeah, not brave enough though, because I need an epidural ASAP, like yesterday. I need an epidural, thank you. And she's like, gotcha, no problem. So my whole shebang, the entire pregnancy with my husband, telling him that I was gonna try to do whatever I could to not have an epidural, went out the window after an hour of contractions. And that's okay, I'm just that girly, you know, I am the epidural girly, like I need an epidural and it is what it is. So she checks to see how dilated I am, and y'all, I was 7 centimeters dilated when I got to the hospital. Literally an hour after my water broke, 7, okay? To start pushing, you need to be at 10, 7. So with my first, I think when I got to the hospital, I was 3 centimeters, which makes sense as to why it wasn't so painful, the contractions. But yeah, 7, which is wild. I was so shocked to hear that. So they immediately got me to a room to get me set up. And, you know, I had my nurse kit gifts to the nurse that was helping us out, which was really sweet. I think she really appreciated it. They were asking if I wanted music. My husband was asking me. I was under so much pain. Honestly, you guys, the second time around, I was like, I don't want anything, okay? I just want to concentrate. I want to get this baby out. I don't care about an oil diffuser. I don't care about music. I don't care about nothing. I just need to just be present. That is it, nothing else. I don't care if the lights are dimmed. I don't care if there are stars over here blinking around. Nothing. I just need to concentrate and be present. That is my goal right now. So very different than the first time, where I had meditation music. I had like a speaker playing that. I had a lavender oil diffuser going. And honestly, did it help? No. So, you know, it's all relative, to be honest. But this time around, it was very, very different for me. And this is just my personal experience, of course. Nothing wrong if that is the kind of birth you want to have. I did try it the first time around. It just didn't happen necessarily. So that's that. But once the first nurse kind of sat the room, then the nurse that was going to help me deliver the baby came in. Her name is Myra. And shout out to Myra from the Presbyterian Hospital of Dallas, which is definitely not going to be watching this video, but if you live in Dallas, ask for her. She is the reason why I was successfully able to have a VBAC, because she gave me the tough love that I needed, okay? So I'll give you an example. It was time to push, okay? So it was, I think, 10:30 when we started pushing. So we were just relaxing. She had me relaxed. I think she put like a balloon on me to help me dilate a little bit faster. So I was laying there for a little while. And actually, let's take a step back, okay? So Myra was my nurse, and we had the epidural. And I just wanted to say, before I even jump into the pushing part, that I had an epidural twice, and it really did not hurt. I feel like a lot of women fear having an epidural so much, and sometimes don't even get one because they feel like it's gonna hurt more than birth itself. And I just didn't have that experience. Again, it could vary from person to person, but personally for me, I did not have that experience. What I did feel was a lot of pressure. And so I felt a lot of pressure in, I think, my lower back and my legs, as the epidural was kind of like working its way to numb me out. But other than that, like, I really didn't feel any pain. I also think that when you have contractions, the pain of contractions are so much greater than any other pain you're gonna feel, that, you know, you don't really think about anything else, and you just want that pain to go away. If you are like me, then yeah. So that is my experience with the epidural. But I got the epidural. It took about half an hour to kick in. I had the balloon put in. It didn't hurt. And I think it's because I had the epidural already too. So I kind of, wasn't feeling a lot of pain down there. So that was nice. And my contractions were really strong, like really, really strong. Because even with the first epidural, I was still feeling a lot of pain, to the point where I was like almost like I can't even describe it, but it was really, really painful, and I already had the epidural. So they had the person come back again and give me another boost of epidural, or whatever you call it. So I had to do that again, and that helped kind of reduce the pain a little bit, but it did take a while. But my contractions were really, really strong. So anyways, after that, Myra had me start pushing at 10:30, and when I first pushed, this is what I did. I went, and she's like, "You clearly forgot how to push from your first time." And I was very upset. Because I was like, well, I guess so. I remember just like looking at my husband. He's like, don't get angry. And I felt discouraged. I thought, okay, I guess I'm not going to be able to push this baby out because clearly I can't push. And so that was really discouraging. But she kind of like guided me through how to push. And she did such a good job that it really motivated me. And it only took like her doing it once, and I was like ready to go. And so after that, she was like, yes, that is how you do it. And, I was pushing. And I will say, a lot of people say that the first time around, the second time that you have a baby, that they come faster and it's easier, but it really wasn't the case for me either. So the second time around, the first time I was pregnant, I pushed for 3.5 hours, and then the second time I pushed for 2.5 hours. So I still pushed for a pretty long period of time. So I don't know, I think that varies for everybody. Again, if you are pregnant a second time, you may be blessed with a baby that just like comes right out. It just wasn't my experience personally. But yeah, I pushed for 2.5 hours, and I remember at one point just thinking, I can't do this. I've been pushing for so long. And his baby, you could see his head, but like nothing was happening. And I remember at one point telling her, like, I can't do it. Maybe we're just going to have a C-section again. And, his head is there, but it's not coming out. And she was like, honey, like, the reason why like that hasn't happened yet is because when you are ready to push completely, it won't just see his head. His entire body is going to come out. So yeah, of course, you're only seeing his head right now. This is normal. You're doing a great job. Keep doing it. You can do it. So she was like a cheerleader for me. So that encouraged me to keep going. And, obviously, like having the support system, like my husband was so great. Counting down, helping the nurse, and everybody was just like so supportive. And after that, I remember her calling the doctor and saying, the baby's here, we're ready. And I could not believe it. I was like, what? And I remember looking at her and saying, the baby's here? And she's like, yeah, girl, you did it. And I was like, no way, no freaking way, because obviously nothing was going on down there yet. So she calls the doctor comes in, And, you know, we're pushing, and it takes like some extra pushes. I mean, I don't know how many times I pushed, probably 5, 6, 7 times. And boom, this little guy comes out, and I could not believe I did that. I could not, you guys. I still can't. It was such a surreal experience. My husband was telling me that he was freaking out because when he came out, 2 things happened that we weren't even thinking might happen. 1, he didn't cry, which was really scary, and 2, his head was obviously really purple, and so he was freaking out. And I just remember telling the doctor, is he okay? You know, asking the doctor, is he okay? Because he's not crying. And the doctor literally isn't responding to me, and I'm freaking out because Caden, when he came out screaming, you know, like that was the first thing the doctor said. They were like, oh, this baby is good to go. This guy came out quietly. He was not screaming. He was not crying. So it took a little pat, you know, here and there to get him started, to get him crying. But he thankfully was very, very healthy. He was 8 pounds, 5 ounces. Just a perfect little guy. And, you know, all went well. My husband cut the umbilical cord, which I don't think he did that the first time around. I don't know if you can do that with a C-section. I'm not sure, but anyways, he was able to do that this time, which was really cool. So we took pictures of all that, and yeah, and that was that. You know, we stayed in the hospital for, I want to say 3 days. Just because I wanted to make sure that I was okay. The recovery was very similar to the first time. I think the biggest challenge for me this time around was from pushing, my hemorrhoids triggered, which if you have been around for a while, you know, I had it with my first pregnancy, and it doesn't just go away, so it can always come back. And of course, pushing for 2.5 hours will probably trigger it coming back. So it was pretty substantial. It was pretty bad. And I was told to eat lots of watermelon and papaya, by the way. So I've been doing that, and I have been using the Preparation H cream, and the witch hazel helped a lot. I believe it took about like a week for me to start feeling better on that, and now I'm totally fine. So it wasn't too bad, but it was definitely very uncomfortable and painful in the beginning. When I went home, they sent me home with ibuprofen and a soft stool, and that obviously helped with that as well. So I would definitely, you know, just keep that in mind, and I'll link everything below for you guys. So if you're like confused as to what I'm talking about, you can just check it out. But that is what happened. So we had help that first week when we got home, which was nice. And then we also had help this week when my husband's mother went home. My mom came and helped us out, and she actually left today, which was very hard for me to say bye to her, just because now we're alone and we have to figure out how to do this without any help. And I feel like even with help, it was kind of a struggle for us. It was just very overwhelming. Honestly, the biggest part is the night for me right now, because the best night we've ever gotten was probably like 4 hours of sleep. You know, the witching hour is definitely real. They don't know how to differentiate night and day yet. So he's switching day with night, night with day. So he sleeps all day, and he's pretty much up for many hours at night. And I don't know if he has colic, but I think he does have a little bit of colic. He is just crying unconsolably sometimes, and it doesn't matter what you do, which is very, very hard. So I feel extremely tired. It just makes the days just a little bit harder when you don't sleep well enough at night. So yeah, that's been the biggest struggle so far. I think once he has a good schedule at night, things will get better. But yeah, other than that, recovery wise, everything else is totally fine. I initially was very swollen. I think because of the epidural, my legs were really swollen, my feet were swollen. So I was feeling a lot of discomfort in those areas, but the ibuprofen definitely helped, and I've been doing the lymphatic massage, which helps a lot with circulating the blood and inflammation. So I saw a huge difference when I started doing that too. I do that a lot. Like after my pregnancies, I started doing the lymphatic massage in my belly and my legs just to get that blood flowing and, you know, to get the inflammation down. And I saw a pretty big difference with Caden, and I'm seeing a pretty big difference this time around too. Another thing I noticed with the VBAC recovery is that I felt like I debloated much faster. I don't know why, if that's really the reason why, if it's because of the type of delivery I had, but I definitely felt like I lost the weight a little bit faster. Not that obviously I lost, you know, I just lost more weight this time than I did the first time around. But ironically enough, I also am not caring as much about that, and I'm not like, you know, not eating to lose weight, because I am trying to breastfeed still and I need to have enough calories for that. So I am not like really on a diet or anything. I'm just eating, you know, whatever it is I feel like eating. And I'm not really worrying about it, because my priority is really like taking good care of him right now. And I did see better milk supply this time around, but his latching is really rough. So we are breastfeeding a little bit here and there, but you know, mostly I am pumping and giving him the bottle through pumping, and then also giving him formula. And that's just my personal approach, because I had a very traumatic experience with breastfeeding with Caden the first time around, and it really hit my mental health, and it made the whole experience really traumatic for me. So this time around, I'm just being mindful of that. And you know, to me, I think fed is best. So we are pumping as much as we can. I don't know how much I'll be able to keep up with pumping with no help, because even with help here, it was hard to find like 30-45 minutes to pump, like, you know, every 3 hours. So we'll see how that goes. And I'm still trying to breastfeed as well, but like I said, like the latching is tough. He doesn't really have a tongue tie or anything. He's just, I don't even know how to explain. It's just been hard. And it could be me too. It could be both of us, one of us. I don't know. But I don't want to stress over it at the moment. So that is that. But yeah, I just wanted to quickly get on here and share that with you guys when I could, because truly filming is going to be a challenge. So I'm gonna have to figure out how I can still get on here and share, you know, life with you guys. And I hope everyone's doing well. And yeah, thank you for being here. And I will catch up with you guys hopefully at least once a week moving forward. Thank you so much for being here. If you haven't already, don't forget to like, subscribe, share with a mom friend, and I will see you guys next time.